Hey guys, welcome back to Confessions with Cassidy. I, of course, am Cassidy, and I'm so grateful that you're back here with me for this week's how-to. And this week is an extremely important one. This is a topic that I really had to work on, and it was a lot of trial and error. And this week we're going to be talking about how to diffuse an argument. Before we dive into it, make sure to like and subscribe so that you never miss one of my videos. And if you're feeling extra lovely, make sure to hit that bell. So when it comes to arguments, we've obviously all had them. We've all witnessed them. If it's our parents fighting or siblings fighting, later on relationships, friends, we've all been in an argument. They can range from being super mild and nitpicky to extremely hostile and very spicy. And what I want to talk about today is how to diffuse those arguments before they get out of control. So the first point I want to make is about listening. It's very much easier said than done, especially when you're in an argument. At least for me in the past, before I kind of started working through these steps, if I was in an argument with somebody, I just wanted to be heard. And the issue with that is you start playing ping pong with your words. And in doing that, nobody actually is listening to what the issue is. So for me, instead of sitting and listening to what the person actually had to say or what the issue was, I was already trying to defend myself and my actions and taking the defense. Instead of, choosing to be open and actually hearing the person out. In saying that, if somebody's being hostile, it's very hard to sit silent and feel still strong in the situation. But why that's so important is if a person is so angry that they are just laying it out on you, if you choose silence and really listen to what they have to say, you then have the power of the conversation. You've actually taken the time to hear them out of what the issue is, and then you can defend yourself. And the thing is when somebody's angry, 9 times out of 10, they're just going to spew everything out, especially if they're given the opportunity to speak. And eventually they'll tire themselves out. And that's the point where, you can actually start having a conversation. It's much easier said than done. For sure, if somebody's in an argument with you, it's a natural instinct for most people to defend themselves. But I really, really recommend to listen. When I first started dating my fiance, I remember we got into an argument. It was way before I kind of learned these skills of how to kind of deal with my emotions or anger or to remain calm in an argument. And I remember we got in a fight and I started yelling at him. Bless him. And he looked at me, I'll literally never forget it, and he said, "Anything you have to say to me can be said in a normal speaking voice." And my mind was blown because he was right. Why do I have to yell to get my point across? I think people think by yelling and getting so angry and spiteful in an argument that you're being heard, when in reality, if anything, you're just losing power. There's no power in screaming. There's just trying to cause fear, which in doing so can lead to hurting your partner or hurting a relationship or your friend or your family, whoever you're fighting with. And that was a massive turning point for me, that I kind of realized I don't have to raise my voice to raise a point in a conversation that is bothering me. And the thing is, when you give somebody the opportunity to really let it all out and you choose to listen, eventually, like I said, they'll tire themselves out. And then you're given this kind of space and opportunity to speak. And that is where the second point comes in, which is to repeat. This is a tactic that I think is probably one of the most beneficial things I've ever learned in my life. If I'm in an argument with somebody and, for example, say somebody says something that's really hurtful for me, and I give them the opportunity to speak, they're going and going, 5 minutes later they stop. Basically what I recommend to do is, because you've listened, you now have all the words that they said in your mind and in your body. And the next step is to actually say it back to them and ask them, did you mean that? So if somebody, for example, says, I'm lazy, I'm a bitch, and I'm not hardworking, for example, I would say, okay, so I'm lazy, I'm a bitch, and I'm not a hard worker. Is that what you meant to say? And it poises the question for the other individual to really think, did I really mean that? Or was I given the opportunity to speak too much and I said something that I didn't mean? In an argument, you just end up grasping at straws because it's natural to want to win an argument, when in reality nobody wins an argument because people just get hurt. Now, repeating something back to somebody, obviously you had to really listen. And, you know, sometimes they will say, yes, that's exactly what I meant. And then you have to take it from there. So by repeating it back to them, you're giving them the opportunity to really think about their words and if that was actually their intention of what they said. You also give the opportunity for somebody to say, no, sorry, that's not what I meant. Let me try to explain in a different way, which can then totally diffuse the argument right there. The other option is that it really was what they meant to say. And in that case, you go to step 3, which is boundaries. Now, this for me is an extremely important step. If you are in an argument with somebody, you've tried to listen, you've tried to repeat, you've tried to diffuse the argument as best as you can, and this person is on fire, it's better to leave a burning house than to sit in the living room while it burns around you. And that's just about protecting yourself. I don't have to be yelled at or spoken to in a way that doesn't serve me and that I don't agree with. I'm more than willing to give the benefit of the doubt to somebody if there's something that is bothering them, but I'm not a punching bag. And I am able to say, this is too much now, and I'm going to separate myself from the situation, and we can come back in a couple hours or in a couple days when things have cooled off. That's just an important boundary to have with yourself and in any relationship you have. If you get in a fight with your boss, that sucks. There's nothing worse than that. And it's very hard when you're under somebody to stand up for yourself. But at the end of the day, it's extremely important to be like, how you're behaving is not benefiting me in any way, and I need to separate myself from the situation. I'm gonna go back to work. We can talk about this another day after we've cooled off. If they have an issue with that, again, that's on them, and that's just setting deeper boundaries. That's really then just protecting yourself and saying, this is not benefiting either of us now, so I'm going to cut it here. And I think that's a really, really important step that you have to take sometimes. Now, on the flip side, if I'm the angry person, and we've been talking about if somebody is coming to you with an argument, the 4th point is to stop and think. If something has happened that's really frustrated me and I feel like I need to speak to somebody about their behavior, I will always take a step back. You know, giving yourself a little bit of breathing room and a little opportunity to reflect, even if it's 2 to 3 hours, can change your opinion like no other. Something that really frustrated me 2 hours ago maybe is nothing now, and then it wouldn't have been worth the argument. However, if 3 hours have passed and it's still in your chest and you need to get it out, then that's exactly right. You have to have the conversation. And then you can also use the first point of saying, if somebody's coming back to you with that ping pong kind of conversation fighting, you just have to ask, I need you to just listen to me for a minute. Just let me talk, and then I want to hear what you have to say. I promise you'll end up getting better results as soon as you can actually have a conversation rather than just fighting. Another little helpful tip that I do is whenever there's something that's really bothering me, I'll always journal about it. And that could just be pulling up the notes app on my phone and just kind of writing out my feelings and writing out why it bothered me, what it is, who it was with, how it affected me, you know, those 5 W's, and coming back to that a day later and being like, do I still feel the same way that I did yesterday? And most of the time I don't. And then I just delete the note and I continue moving forward in my life. For sure, this isn't a foolproof plan. Arguments can go so many different ways. And I just know that these are kind of some steps that help me stay grounded when I do get into arguments with people. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I think it's a really important one. I hope that these steps can help you out. I hope you don't get in many arguments, of course, but they do arise and maybe you'll be a little bit more prepared to protect yourself. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you next week. Mwah! Bye.